everybody, and welcome to a Gem of a Secret podcast. My name's Donna.
And my name is Coco Gem Holiday.
How are you doing tonight, Coco?
I haven't talked to you in like 7 years, it feels like.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Oh, yeah, because we had some pre-recorded episodes, so I haven't seen
did.
Donna in 7 months.
It's been like 2 weeks, a week and a half, but yeah.
It kind of feels like it, though.
Yeah, it does. How's life? How are you doing? What's going on?
So I started my new job, and it is overwhelming as all get out. I'm an IT manager at a bank, and I have to tell you right now that I've never been in a manager position before in my life. I've managed drag queens, I've managed events, I've managed weddings, I've managed a lot of different things other than being a manager at a job, having to be responsible to a degree for multiple people for 8 hours a day. Because drag queens, I only have to monitor them for 2 hours, and then it's done for a month.
So, on top of starting your new job, you also have a very full Pride calendar for events.
Me and Donna are actually going to be performing at Milwaukee Pride main stage. Pride. Oh, we're so excited about that's going to be really cool. That's actually, this episode will be released before then, I believe, and that's June 4th.
From 10 to noon.
10 to noon, yes. Yeah, so
it's
super early.
Yeah.
I love getting into drag at 6 a.m.
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be such a party. And, of course, it's family friendly. So, of course, bring your family out.
Yeah.
We're going to do some fun numbers for you all that we haven't necessarily talked about yet. But it is a really cool opportunity, and we're getting paid to do it. Mm-hmm. Which, in the first couple of episodes of this podcast, we were always talking about how they don't pay drag artists and whatever. But I feel like the times are changing.
Yeah, that's due in part to a lot of entertainers like yourself and Flawless Shade and just different people really advocating for people to get paid in this community, and that's important, like entertainers deserve it. Like, you're out here during a pandemic and doing what you know how to do best. Like, there's a lot of entertainers in Portland too that are full-time entertainers, and although some may stick their nose up at that and say that that's not a smart thing to do, it is something that people do to get by. And for some people, that's their biggest skill set, is entertaining and being on a stage,
Yeah.
And also, why do you have to feel miserable and unhappy to make money?
Oh, gosh, right?
You're not suffering like I am under the boot of capitalism. How dare you?
I know, it's so bad. It's me and Donna talk about capitalism a lot on here.
Well, because we're in we're in the last stages of capitalism right now.
Yeah, actually, go listen to our last episode. Actually, 2 episodes ago, listeners, because we do kind of deconstruct capitalism in a really fun and interesting way.
Yeah, and it's kind of going to be an ongoing thing for me as a leftist. So if you don't like that, then I guess you could just close your ears for the parts that I'm talking.
Or as I say, close your eyes because this is a recording. No, it's a recording instead of a filming.
Coco's always saying we're going to go film the podcast. I'm like, Coco, this is an auditory format. Yeah, okay, well, all right, viewers. No, you do say listeners a lot of the time.
I do. I try to say listeners when we're actually recording. But we do have... actually, no, before we talk about our announcement, Donna, what are you wearing this eve night and good?
Well, those wig heads?
Yeah?
Yeah, I just have
Okay.
I have 2 on my shoulders, so then I'm a 3-headed monster.
Oh, God.
And it's Ornacia, but just kind of like the dog, the hellhound that guards the underworld, but a drag version of that.
Cool.
Cerebus, right?
Yeah, I can definitely see it.
What about you?
So I just finished watching Moon Knight last week, and so
I haven't watched the finale yet.
Oh, so good. So I'm dressed in a feminine rendition of Moon Knight.
The suit or the wraps?
The wraps,
okay.
Not the suit is stupid, but the wraps definitely. And so I just I'm feeling my fantasy in this white, musty looking cape. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is chic.
Yeah, we're both just very death themed tonight.
So also keep in mind, so our small announcement is that on June 2nd, I believe, we will be doing our next rendition of a Gem of a Secret podcast live.
Yes, with a special guest.
Yes. The Painted with Raven Season 1 star, Flawless Shade.
Yes, flawless.shade on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. We're so excited about that. Like she is a long-term listener of the podcast, and she was super excited to do it. And I was actually waiting to ask her until we got this live show up on Off the Ground. And it does start out a large Pride Month for us. And then, of course, 2 days after that, we'll be having our Milwaukee Pride show. So, listeners, if you want to come out in Milwaukee, Oregon to come watch us and tip us and all that other stuff, yeah, come out. That'll be so exciting.
Tell us how pretty we are.
Yeah, tell us how pretty we are. And then when we fall on stage, specifically me, because I'm old now, be like, ooh, she fell so gracefully.
And me, because I only wear heels like once a month, if that, anymore.
Yeah, and she still wears the tallest heels I've ever seen.
And I still walk on my toes around the house.
I did. I saw her. She was coming up from the laundry room. I was like, Donna, get off your toes.
The thing is, like, no matter how much I walk on my toes, it's never going to be as high as some of the heels that I have. So my feet are still going to hurt.
Yeah.
You know? Like, when I'm walking on my toes, I'm, like, giving myself, like, a solid little biscuit basket heel when I'm walking on my toes, you know? So, like, that's the height that I'm used to. But I don't walk on my toes stiletto style. Maybe I should start.
Yeah, that sounds fun. If you're lounging around the house and just on your big toe around the house doing vacuuming.
I'll just like do some, ballerina twirls and get on point at some point while I'm walking through the house.
She's smoking that reefer and pouring some cereal. So
yeah, I'm all out of cereal. It's gonna be more like burritos.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be it's more like milk.
Well, inflation,
Okay.
You can only afford half the items that I used to get.
Oh, the funny thing is, I never asked you this. What is your favorite cereal?
Life. Cinnamon Life.
Oh, I thought there was like a joke coming about like what's your favorite cereal? Life, and then like some hippie crap that you were gonna say right after. Like just really
the cereal of life. I'm really into that.
Wait, Life?
Yeah,
wow.
Cinnamon Life.
Cinnamon Life.
Yeah.
Regular Life, that's for serial killers.
Yeah, regular life is boring, but...
So many analogies here.
Yeah, no, I like Cinnamon Life the best. And if I'm not having Cinnamon Life, then I also really like Honey Nut Cheerios. Like, that's kind of boring.
Those are good, though.
They're good.
No,
yeah.
Those are good. Regular Cheerios are also
Gross.
for serial killers.
Yeah, no, why?
Who wants bland,
Who wants
hard
to
cardboard?
hate their life.
Mine is, which I realized was not really a cereal, and they actually marketed it as being healthy. But I like Wheaties, but frosted mini Wheaties.
Oh, those are good.
Which,
yeah.
By the end of it, it's just your milk is just sugar,
soggy, and like when the Wheaties get all soggy too. If you leave them in there too long.
Actually, the funny thing is, I like them right before they're at that soggy
Same.
level. Like you're like, this is delicious with my sugar.
Don't you
wheat.
love when you get one that is like super frosted too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just the sugar and like the
Yeah, and then like when your mom would call you and then you couldn't finish it and you'd come back later and then all of it is like wet, soggy nonsense.
Oh yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, it's like going swimming in jeans.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
So yeah, this was a really impactful intro to this.
It really was. Very topical, you learned some things about us.
Before we get to our break, we should probably talk about current events in one specific aspect. I don't know all the details yet, but obviously this morning, because we are filming this on May 24th, there was another mass shooting near an elementary school, and that is horrific and horrible. And then, of course, the divisive language is already coming out about people, and also, like, all of you probably know it by now, but, like, 14 have been announced dead, and some of them are children, which is horribly sad. But the divisive language has already started on the internet, and people are blaming, like, gun control and all that other stuff. Like, it happened very quickly this time. It was like people weren't even, like... There were, like, no thoughts and prayers, just arguing, which was heartbreaking to see on the internet.
Yeah. I think people are tired of it happening over and over again and nothing being done about it. That kind of seems to be the case with a lot of the issues that are happening in our country.
I think that there's actually, and this is just my hypothesis, because it came on the tail end of, like white supremacy shootings, mass shootings, that I think people were like people like piggyback off of emotions.
Yeah.
So when this happened, I think people were still just mad.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't get to a place of compassion faster. I think that's actually, I think it was a burnout.
They're trying to like point fingers.
Yeah.
And cause like, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was like immediately like aggressive discourse happening.
Yeah, it really was.
Online. And I was on TikTok, and all there were debates between leftists and conservatives going on, and or even just liberals and conservatives. But it was yeah, I don't know much about it either. I know that there were more kids that died than adults in this shooting.
I did not know that. That is really heartbreaking.
And I don't think it just happened near. I think it was like at the school that it happened.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, it sounded like it started outside and it might have ventured inside, but when I was looking at it online, it was like probably like 12 minutes of reporting at that point, and there wasn't a lot of information. So obviously by the time this episode comes out, there will be a lot more information and facts and whatever. So just bear that in mind, listeners.
Y'all will know a lot more than we do currently. We're just trying to kind of unpack things as they happen. So, but yeah, more kids died than adults in this shooting, and this is also 10 years after Sandy Hook, where...
Oh yeah, people were bringing that up too.
Yeah, so...
What would you say... I have a question. What would you say would you find to be the how to solve mass shootings?
Well, it's certainly not to arm teachers with guns,
that's
as people like to try and bring up, especially on the right. I think we need stricter gun control. I am someone, and here's the thing, conservatives, I don't think any of you listen to this, and if you do, thank you.
Thank you for your patronage.
Yeah, but I'm someone who shoots guns. I have shot guns in the past. I have gone out on a shooting range, and it's something that I enjoy doing.
Same.
But I think we need stricter gun control laws. We do. I think we have seen this happen so many times, and it's affected so many different communities. I mean, we had like the Pulse massacre happen. It was a big thing that happened with the LGBTQ community, and we see it happen far too often in schools, and it's been a thing ever since Columbine happened.
Yeah.
And ever since that happened, our lives, especially as middle school and high school students, we never knew what it was like to not have regular lockdowns in school. Just drills too, like that was something that was commonplace for us growing up, were to have those types of lockdowns, because it's been such a big thing that's happened in our society.
Right.
So I think stricter gun control laws. I think we also, just really need to make sure that we're smart about not arming citizens who have just out to go like cause problems and like die on the scene. Like a lot of the times these people's mission is to like go out guns blazing, and so their mission is to like have it be this big murder suicide type of event.
Right.
And I think that includes having stricter background checks for people, very extensive background checks for people.
Do you think it's ableist to somebody to pass like a mental health screening to own a firearm?
I mean, that's kind of a loaded question.
And we live in Portland, so it's even more loaded.
Yeah. I think it's necessary. That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's necessary. Yeah. I don't know.
And I like to say that I agree with Donna, and the way I'll throw my caveat on there is in a non-broken system, a screening for mental wellness when it comes to owning a firearm. Because people would be like, no, because like they would abuse it and make it to where like POC people were deemed unfit, right? Like, but I'm talking about in a good, well-vetted system that didn't look at bias, which is really hard to do. That I think a mental wellness check would help a lot. in these cases. I also agree with Donna in the sense of, I'm answering all the other the questions as well. I also agree with Donna that we shouldn't arm teachers. I've been in high intense situations working at a bar downtown where I was around firearms a lot.
Yeah.
From the scary side. Like I was, I witnessed like drive-by shootings and like all these other things. And I can tell you that my fight or flight response is very flight and then also kind of frozen.
Yeah.
Like arming me if I was a teacher, like even if I was well-trained, would not help nobody's nobody.
Yeah.
Like, I'd more than likely, and I started shaking a lot of the times too, so I would probably end up just like shooting a kid or something like that. But like honestly, because I know myself, like I've been involved in the situations now. I'm in my 30s. It's actually terrifying to think about. And then so the other thing too is I think that obviously I believe in banning like assault rifles and all that other stuff and automatic weapons in that sense, but I don't have a good solution. I like to ask people what they think, but I really don't have a good solution to solving the mass shooting problem that is happening way too frequently. And it is, if we all can't agree that it's super horrible that, kids lost their lives, and we don't even know at the time of filming this, recording this, we don't actually know the answer about why it happened. So
yeah.
To move it back upbeat, we actually have a special guest coming on after our break where we're going to ask some of the questions that we asked in this first half, but it's going to be a little bit more about all of us are transplants to the Portland area, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So I guess with that, Donna, how are you doing this evening?
I'll let you know after this brief break.
Drag Danger Zone is a monthly showcase featuring new and established performers every month, every fourth Thursday at Mississippi Pizza, located at 3552 North Mississippi Avenue. This fun cabaret variety show is hosted by Marla Darling, Valerie DeVille, and DJ Aurora. For ticket info, find us on Instagram at Drag Danger Zone PDX or Facebook at Drag Danger Zone. And get into the zone. The Drag Danger Zone, that is.
Hey, are you kind of sick and tired of going downtown to watch quality drag shows? We're bringing you a specialty drag show to your neighborhood bar at the Montevilla Saloon. It is every last Sunday of the month at 7 o'clock p.m., so you can see downtown drag just in your backyard. Located at 8012 Northeast Gleason Street. Once again, that's 8012 Northeast Gleason Street. Be on the lookout for more information.
It's a podcast with Coco and Donna, tell a podcast. Tune into what they tell you podcast. With Coco and Donna, tell a podcast.
Well, Coco, I am feeling like I just had an organ transplant because we're going to talk about being transplanted.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't know how else to tie in that this part of the episode is going to be us talking about transplants. So there we go. I don't know.
Should have gave her more time to think.
That was completely on the fly, and I apologize. And
apologizing to our listeners.
Yeah, apologize to our listeners.
So our special guest is Garrette.
Hi.
Hi, Garrette. How are you today?
Hi, Garrette.
I think that was pretty clever, the organ transplant.
Don't give her that.
I'm just saying.
Thank you. An organ transplant?
Oh,
Wait, don't we have that soundboard?
Wait, there's a sound.
Here we go.
I think there we
No, not that one.
Not this.
There we go.
Oh, the timing was great.
Yeah. we just need to be more on top of it next time I have a singer like that.
Such a great singer that was. So Garrette, when did you move to Oregon?
I actually moved down here on New Year's Eve. That's when I actually physically got down here.
That's crazy. You have such big life moments happening when it comes to like special things like New Year's Eve, being bored on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there's that and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Gosh, Garrette's life is a mess.
New Year's Eve is also my younger brother's birthday. So. there's that too.
I feel like being friends with you is dangerous, actually.
I moved here on a special day too. I moved here on on my birthday. What about you, Coco? When did you move here?
It was like
What
a
makes you
random
special,
day.
Coco?
Oh, the weekend
It was National Hot Dog Day.
The weekend I moved here was a Proud Boys rally. I actually sang it in
Oh.
my stand-up,
Yeah.
so I feel like that was iconic for me.
It's definitely memorable.
Yes, it definitely was.
And it was fresh off of filming Camp Wanakiki, so I guess
was.
that is special.
Yeah, it was. I just got back from camp, and then 3 weeks later, I was moving here. It was rough. Yes, listen to our last episode. We interviewed one of the campers from season 3 of Camp Wanakiki.
Yes.
So let's get into it, Garrett. What do you think about Portland?
I love Portland. So I moved here from Alaska, from Juneau, Alaska, and up there's absolutely nothing to do unless you want to hike in the rain and mud straight up a cliff, or fish, or go out on a boat. And I don't like water. I don't like fish. And I don't like being out in the mud. So it really wasn't the place for me. So coming down here, I came down to visit in October last year, and I was here for a week, and it was amazing. Like,
It's
I
a
had so
beautiful
much
place.
fun, and realized that there's so much more life here than there was back in Alaska. And I took the opportunity to put in a transfer for work to come down here, and everything fell into place super quickly, and I ended up moving down here on New Year's Eve.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a really that's a big life step, especially coming from Alaska to here. But you've done this in the past because you moved from Alaska to Colorado when you were going to school or somewhere. Why the hell were you in Grand Junction?
I was supposed to be going to school. I was enrolled in school. I don't know if I was going, but I was back and forth between Colorado and Alaska a lot. Originally being born in Colorado, and then moving to Alaska in 2010, and then after graduating in 2012, moving back to Colorado for college at Colorado Mesa University. Actually, it was still Mesa State back then. I was there for about 3 months before I had to go back to Alaska, and I was up there until I think it was 2015. Then I moved back to Colorado and tried to go to school again. And yep, life choices brought me back to Alaska, where I ended up starting a career and trying to do better, be better, but I just got bored when I realized that I can still do better and be better somewhere that I can be free to be me and be happy and have fun. So that's why I came back down south to Portland. Down south is what they say up in Alaska.
Anything is down south.
Yeah,
from
anything in the
Alaska.
continental U.S. is considered down south.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of moving, just in general.
Location-wise, yes. I've also moved probably, I think my count is up to 43 times in my life.
Good
Between
gosh.
different
Damn.
houses.
Stay in one place for a little while.
The longest I've lived in one place is 4 years.
Really?
And that was my last apartment in Alaska.
Damn.
4 years. Other than that, it's 2 years or less in every spot that I've lived.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a nomad, but I only
You are
lived in
nomad.
like 4 different places.
Garrett, we're going to go to the end of the story. So Garrett recently tried to move away from Portland. And then I yelled at him aggressively about that decision. Because I think that his journey is just starting here to figure out who he is without the support of his family.
Yes, and that was much needed. I got in the mindset that I could run to the safety net of my family, and through talking with you and Autumn, I realized that wouldn't have been the best choice for me. Yes, I would be with my family, but I would go back to a place that I don't belong.
Right.
And it would have eaten me up inside the longer I stayed there. So you helping me make the decision to stay in Portland, where I chose to be in the first place and where I wanted to be and where I feel good being, was a wake-up call that I definitely needed. Definitely. And it not only came from you two, like you two gave me the hard wake-up calls, like the non-physical slap, but everyone was like, you shouldn't leave just because of certain events that have been happening
This
lately.
shit got hard.
Ooh, yes, it did.
Yeah, it's still continuously getting harder and harder.
Every day there's something, but
Every week you have something just real scary happening in your life.
I do, and I don't understand why. But like you said, like I said, you just gotta face it. Like you said, you can't run from it. You just gotta face it and just deal with it as it comes. I've been trying to teach myself that I don't have to handle all of this at the same time. Like I can pick and choose which small battles to complete and to win and be successful at that I can. And once I am able to free myself from those difficulties, that I have the availability within myself to actually take on something bigger. So I'm trying to just take it day by day, even if I can only focus on what's happening tomorrow. That is the pace that I have set for myself. That's as far as I can go. That's what I can do. I will figure it out one day at a time.
Wow.
And if it makes you feel any better, society's completely crumbling around you while this all happens. So,
I feel like it's my fault too.
I feel like it's my fault. Oh God.
Yes, I was the keystone, and now everything else is falling apart around me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone.
kinda. I mean, the reality situation too is like you have a lot on your plate, and the decisions that you make from this point are really going to define who you are for the rest of your life in a lot of different ways, because like struggles and oppression and heartache will show you who you are. There hasn't necessarily been actually I had a point where like a lot of the online cancellation was getting really bad when I had like thought maybe I should move away from Portland. But I realized that those are all outside factors and I can control those things if I just take it one day at a time. And now I sit into a place where, like Donna mentioned at the earlier part of the episode, where I thought after like I went through all my cancellation, I'd never really perform in the city anymore. And now I have like gigs out the wazoo for Pride and people in my inbox consistently like wanting to see me entertain. And I realized that like if I would have let the haters get me down, like I wouldn't have the Pride Month I'm going to have coming up. And it means a lot to me because when we first moved here, it was like 3 weeks before Pride and then COVID for 2 years. So I had no Pride gigs except for like one when I first moved here. And I remember telling Donna, I was at Catch a Rising Star like the first like couple weeks I moved here, and I made like $3 when I had just came from Junction, where our shows were making roughly a little bit over $100 in tips per show. And now that's kind of like my custom here is to making like over $100 in tips per show and like good booking fees sometimes. And like it's just, if I would have just like threw in the towel, then I wouldn't have the success that I have today. And so basically what I'm trying to say is it gets better just one day at a time.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think that the reason why I was so quick to jump to running to my family was just the amount of craziness that happened to me in the short amount of time that it has happened.
Yeah.
Was so overwhelming. Like I've dealt with a lot of overwhelming things in my life, but they haven't all happened back to back like they have since moving here. And none of it's because I moved here. Like it's not Portland's fault that this has happened. So that's also something that I had to remind myself of. These things happened because they happened, not because of where I am. And so changing locations because of that wasn't the right answer to fix anything, because it would not have fixed anything. I had to realize that it would still follow me wherever I decided to run away to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think also that since it is happening to you while you're more independent and kind of in this new like space, it's giving you the opportunity to grow even more. And that's something that has been my story since I've moved here as well. You know, in the last 3 years, I feel like me as a person, I'm miles away from the person I was when I met you, and even from, you know, the person I was when we were living in Colorado. You know, I've had a lot of revelations about myself, and I think this will give you the opportunity to do the same. You'll have some more opportunity to get to know yourself a bit more and kind of figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, and that's something that I look forward to, and that I had to realize for myself that going back home to family in Colorado would not allow me to progress in ways that I need to or that I want to.
Same.
So
yeah,
very much same. I did think about like how easy life was in Grand Junction for me, in the sense of like for the things I wanted to do, but I feel like without adversity I wasn't appreciating all the things I got to do at the level that I get to do them here. Like, I have to work really hard for each and every opportunity I get here, and that does mean a lot to me. I don't want the easy way out. But the other thing is, there are certain things that I did want to be easy, and I didn't want to have, like, incessant racism and crap like that constantly thrown in my face. Like, it is nice to have those things being easier, but still working hard for the things I want in life.
Yeah.
So we'll get to why Garrett is going through all these things, so it's not like this ambiguous Facebook post, but we're just to spice it up a little bit. Garrett, you told me a long time you wanted to make an amends to Donna for breaking up with her on her birthday. I think we should do that on the podcast right now.
Oh my god. Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, yep. We're both put on the spot there, right?
Oh, well.
Too bad this isn't alive. I couldn't take it. Donna's gonna be like, I'm cutting this whole part out.
No, I did say that, especially recently with the life changes that I've been experiencing. Has really opened my eyes to how shitty people can be in relationships, especially relationships that are ending and afterwards. And I have realized how thankful I am for you, Donna, and how grateful I am for your forgiveness. As well as you, Coco, and Adam, because I was very shitty in Grand Junction. I was very messy. And like I mentioned earlier, those poor life choices did end me up back in Alaska. I feel like very immature. I had this idea of like who I was, and it was not correct, and I had this excitement of freedom and things, and I just ended up hurting so many people. But the thing that I have not been able to get past was how much I hurt you, because that was something that you absolutely did not deserve. And to be where I am now, to be able to sit across the table from you right now, speaks so highly on you. And I really, really appreciate the chances that you've given me to hopefully redeem my character with you, because that's, yeah, I don't, like you said, you've changed so much since you met me, and I hope that you see that I have as well, because I don't ever want to be that child that I was back then.
Well, thank you. That does mean a lot, and I've never, like, I have nothing but love for you, honestly, and even since then, like, it's something that, like, even though it's something that in the moment, like, really hurt me, and I've probably, like, held on to it like kind of in the back of my mind as like a little bit of a grudge because of the timing of it and like how things happened. I have always known that at your core you're a good person, and you're one of the very few people that I know that I've been involved with that I still really strongly feel that way about, and even afterward felt that way about. So thank you for that. And I can say that I was also an absolute fucking mess at the time as well.
Ooh,
so
yeah, she was.
I, you know, like it took years of making like constantly the same mistakes over and over again to finally get where I'm at today, where I'm not drinking anymore, and you know, really like have different focuses on my life from where I was at back then. And I mean, even in the last couple years, you know, a lot has changed. So they've all been like really big recent changes, but like we were talking about, I think being away and having a new perspective on things, and then also like just like going through shit and going through life experiences and growing kind of gives you a whole new view on everything. So I appreciate you, and I don't hold any resentments towards you at all, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Coco, for that wonderful, spontaneous.
I'm sure we have referenced you on the podcast before, actually, about the
about
being.
Well, I'm sure.
One of Donna's exes who broke up with her on her birthday.
Yeah, I'm sure that's been referenced.
Yep,
once.
that's me, guys.
But hi, that's Garrett.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny because I do talk, because Garrett is actually currently living with us, and one of the things is like, even though I do a lot of the conversations with people who do stay with us, like me and Donna have long talks about it. And she was actually the one who mentioned, she's like, why doesn't Garrett move in with us instead of the person that was living with us? Yeah, like it was,
I mean, I am an upgrade from that. So.
Yeah, that
was a stressful
that was
situation.
a mess.
I just hid in my room, and like I was like, I could hear it happening from downstairs. I'm like, I'm not gonna come out ever.
She jumped out of the window to go pee.
I had a rope that I would like crawl down, pee outside, and then crawl back up into my room.
Donna has literally, I've said this, I might have said it on the podcast before, but Donna has the most significant relationships in my life have usually been revolving around people and her in general, actually. And it actually happens oftentimes with people who are attracted to her, which is also really funny. And it's fine, because like even like my ex-husband thought, like we always talked about the boy name of Donna, you know, this high school hot person, blah, 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 that everybody was attracted to. Like, that's what my ex-husband used to always say. That's who Donna was in high school. And then even now, like, Garrett is one of my best friends, and of course he dated Donna. And then I'm also married to somebody that Donna went on a date with, being Adam. And Autumn, who we talk about, also dated Donna. So, like, most of the most significant relationships in my life have been because Donna's brought these people into my life, and because I like her so much, I tend to just think that these people are good people. I wasn't always right, that some of them were trash, but some of them really did turn into, like, obviously, like, I'm married to one of them. Like, so it's really an interesting full circle moment that I think that we're having, which is kind of cool. Because, like, we all are different. All three of us are crazy different people from the people we were 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
7 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Like, we were all living in Junction.
2015? 2015, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Jeez. That was a...
Because it was a year after I dropped out of college, I remember.
And
that was 2014, so...
Yeah, I remember that. Also, I did want to say this positive point, too, that isn't necessarily about how Donna was in my life with this, but when I was going through my divorce, actually, Adam and Garrett were the people that I hung out with a lot outside of Donna to talk about those issues. I always remember that walk that me, you, and Adam had when we were walking out of Charlie Dwellington's on First and Main, where I was just like complaining about my whole existence and life and everything like that, and you guys were just like listening and taking care of me, and it was just really, it was a really kind moment. And I think that's the moment we actually became best friends, was that moment. Like, it was really significant to me. And actually, Garrett and I have actually been talking through Snapchat ever since then, like at least a couple of times a week for 7 years.
Yeah, you call me out on all my bullshit.
I do.
It's very nice.
It's
Gotta keep me level.
consistent. And he's adapted into the group really well, and all my friends really adore him. So that's kind of like a really cool moment that we get to actually. We always say that this podcast is unpacking trauma left and right, and I feel like that's another thing. To not be too ambiguous, but to also not talk about your business. Like, the reality is, the things that we're talking about in Garrette's life are pretty serious things that have happened to him recently, ever since he's moved here, especially over the last 3 weeks. And even though it's his responsibility or his job or his accountability if he wants to share those things, the reality is...
Yeah, feel free.
Oh, okay.
I'm perfectly fine with it.
Oh, great. So, here's the thing, listeners. Let's spice it up even more. Garrette is now single. He was engaged. He also got in a new car accident. Is getting a new car. And then recently lost his wallet. There was something else that happened and that was awful.
2 of my good friends have passed, and my dog had to be put down, and I almost lost my job. Yeah, there's been a lot.
And then he also was going to lose his... I remember... I'm gonna lighten the mood just real quick. When he was coming to stay with us, I failed to mention, because a lot of people who come to stay with me have seen this space before. And so, like, Garrette was panicking in text messages to me about a bed. And I didn't understand why this even mattered. I was like, we'll just put it in the basement. He's like, well, I guess I could stay down there. I was like, no. I was like, he's like, well, I don't know what to do with it. And blah, 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 blah. And then finally, after, like, all of these aggressive text messages, I was like, the room has a bed. Did you not know that? And then I get, like, all of these crying emojis and stuff like that because I didn't realize there was already a bed in the room.
That is correct. I have a lot of stuff that I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with, but yay for storage
units. Yeah. There's some pretty affordable ones around here.
Luckily, I found one that's not too far away that I was able to unload all of my stuff in. That was another thing that I had to deal with, was moving out of the last apartment by myself, because my ex-fiance just decided to leave me high and dry again. And that was great, because I was recovering from a car accident. Like, I totaled my car and was just left there to do it on my own. Loved it. The reason being, because I sent him a message and I said, what was your reason why you couldn't help me out with the rest of this stuff? I had to clean the apartment too, by the way.
Ugh.
His response was, I had to go to IKEA and then to dinner with the roommates.
Oh, dear.
I was like,
oh, dear.
Okay, good to know. That's all I said. Good to know.
Wow. Good God.
So, yeah, I started moving out on that Saturday at 10 a.m. and I was not finished until 11:30 that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I couldn't help. I've just been so busy.
No, like I don't, like I know that everyone was busy. Like I'm friends with so many people that are in the entertainment industry here. Like, they're gonna be busy on a Saturday, of course. Like, I did not expect anyone to be free to help me, but those that said they would, that aren't in the entertainment industry, that was a little disappointing. Especially the person that made me end the lease at the apartment.
Yeah.
Did not assist me with getting the stuff organized or out of there.
Yeah, that is really disappointing.
That is.
I have to say, like, we actually had our relationship podcast episode, I think it was like 3 or 4 ago. And when we were talking about, I was interviewing Dona about, like, the positives, because she's currently in a relationship, but, like, the positives and negatives, what have you learned? And that's probably when you got brought up anyway. But here's the thing, though, like, I wanted to give you this advice, too, now that we're, like, sober, you're in a safe space. The thing about it is you're going to be having all of those moments for a really long time that's going to make you so mad, and they don't matter. And what I mean by they don't matter is, like, you're in a safe space, you're still working, like, you're getting your life back on track, but that person did something that's kind of immature, in my opinion, and, like, and you're going to focus on that because you're focusing on it not because of what he did, you're focusing on it because you're wondering how somebody who said that they loved you, agreed to marry you, could do something that would hurt you in that way. And that's why it bothers you so much.
I agree. And speaking with my mother about this, she asked me the other day, she was like, why are you angry? I'm like, well, I think that from a psychological standpoint, it's part of grief. But I'm mad because it's I feel like I was blindsided completely. Like, just like how you said, we got engaged back in June of last year. So it hasn't even been a year, and for things to have gone south so quickly and so dramatically to the point that they're at now, I feel like the rug was pulled from beneath my feet, and I had to collect myself afterwards. And every time I make a little progress, there's something else that happens to me or around me that just is offsetting. And like I said, I look forward to tomorrow because that's as far as I can see at the moment, and I will push myself to get there. And once I accomplish one thing a day, like, if that's all I can do, that's all I can do. If I can just get up and go to work and be successful that day, that's it.
Well, and I do want to give you some positives. You're probably going to be the person that gets me and Donna to do the things that we've been dying to do in the city too. Like Garrett's probably going to snow the product this week and stuff like that. And like, because a lot of, like, Autumn is our person who shows us around, but she likes doing things in the wilderness, and we love that. Like, we love hiking, all that other good stuff. But we don't have somebody who wants to, like, learn about things to do in town and go to concerts and stuff like that. And we had always talked about wanting to do more of those things because we live in this bigger city now.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll finally give us an opportunity to do as such, having you around. Because we've always been saying that we wanted to do it. We just never have.
I am totally down for that. I moved away from the wilderness and the hiking so I could come to the city and go to concerts. Like
do
that,
city things.
Yeah, that was one of the perks of moving down here, was the fact that doesn't matter what day of the week it is, there is something going on that will be fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that, like, especially with your journey about moving forward too, I think that this will help you feel more at home and in place. And maybe it's, since you love drag so much, I mean, maybe you get involved with those things, like maybe being a door person or a tip tart or something like that, if you like that kind of lifestyle. Or maybe get a job as a bartender or something like that.
I would love to be a bartender. That'd be fun.
I mean,
that would be fun.
The owner of the Eagle is opening a new establishment that we all know about. I don't know if they've hired bartenders yet, but that might be a way to get started.
I would love to get out of my government job. I would love to have a little more freedom to my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Donna, when you were on your journey of learning yourself, what were some of the tools that you used to help yourself get there?
A lot of isolation. I know that sounds like depressing and stuff, but I think that any sort of big transformation is kind of lonely, because you can't expect everyone in your life that you were doing all these things with to suddenly adhere to your new norm, to your new paradigm. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of alone in my room thinking about things, or, I meditated a bit when I could, kind of quiet my mind down and really, like, focus on things. I journaled. I think existing is extremely hard for anyone right now in the society that we're in. But I started letting go of things that no longer serve me. And even as, like, a way of living and everything, like, for instance, so I haven't told anyone at the table this yet, but I left my shitty job.
Did you?
This week. Yeah, me and, like, 2 other people did.
Oh gosh.
Because a tragedy happened at our warehouse.
Can you speak about what happened, or?
I guess I've never really brought up, like, the company on here, so I can't, I can kind of allude to what happened.
Yeah, you've never said where you've worked.
I've never said where I've worked. So basically, with the increase in cases, my job wasn't really being super safe and taking extra precautions, and so someone who was very young passed away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, from COVID.
Oh.
So,
are you okay? Did you know this person well?
I mean, we worked together over the last year in very close quarters. So, I mean...
Oh, my God.
That, it kind of shocked a lot of us, and we were kind of lied to about it.
Ooh. Oh, that's rough.
And things had, like, they had known about it and not told us until after the death. And so that was kind of like the final straw for a lot of us. We had already been really unhappy, and we're just like really not having a good time there because we were paid very poorly. The CEO is not someone who is very respectful of workers who are like in the production on his wholesale facility. So in the production team. So it finally came down to it, and I realized that I could, with, you know, my part-time job, I could put more hours into that. And I was already missing so much work because I was just calling out from being really depressed from the job that I was doing.
I had noticed that you were at home a lot more frequently.
I was missing a lot of work, so I figured, I was like, listen, I can make just as much money with my part-time job as what I'm doing currently with my other job, and I'm feeling absolutely miserable. So right now I'm kind of coming out of like a depressive episode because a job that really like made me question my worth. Like it really, like, there was a bunch of things that happened in that job that just made me feel like I wasn't really I don't know, like I'm not a smart person, or like I'm not like a someone who deserves good things because of how little I was how little worth I felt while I was there and how awful I was treated. So it really, like, it kind of fucked with my psyche for a little bit, and I feel like I'm just like coming out of some like hardcore burnout, along with the other people that I worked with that left as well. But yeah, I feel a lot happier. I have 4 interviews this week. So
I mean, good.
But I'm still making the same amount that I was making working part-time as I was at my job, just like calling out constantly throughout the week and still being able to make rent. So I was like, I'm not gonna force myself to be unhappy in a position that is like making me question my self-worth. Like, why would I stick around here? I wouldn't want that for anyone else. Why would I want that for myself?
Yeah.
So
that just all of that sounds horrible. Like all of that, and just
I feel so gross.
That's the thing too about this industry is, like, in theory, the cannabis industry seems like it's really great and it would be so much fun to work in.
Yeah, it always sounds like it's like people are like, oh yeah, you get like
there's a lot of exploitation. A lot of exploitation that happens in it. They think because you're cool and you're hip and you're working in the industry, like, we can get away with treating you like shit and not giving you health insurance and not
That's
giving
gross.
you
because you get a couple of blunts every once in a while.
because you get a couple of blunts, we can force you to not work today because we can't pay you. So you get a Christmas vacation, which is forced unpaid time off.
Yikes.
So, or no hazard pay for COVID if you were to test positive. It's like,
you guys didn't have a hazard pay system? Oh my god.
No, you had PTO awful. If you could, but you would have to use your PTO for, and it wasn't just like sick days. Like, PTO was all just one thing. So if you wanted to use it for vacation or whatever, yeah. But if you got sick, you would also have to use your PTO if you got sick. So a lot of times people couldn't use PTO just for the hell of it.
That is
sounds like a
heartbreaking.
garbage place to work. So
yeah.
I'm glad that you are not there anymore.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, and the thing is, I actually wanted to bring up this point too about Garrett and you, like, and because same with me. The thing is, like, I know that all 3 of us, because we're not necessarily from here, because a lot of people in Portland will quit a job when they're starting to feel the weight that Dona does, but they'll quit a job when they have nothing else. So Garrett was getting fed up with his job, but he stayed because he needed money. Dona was getting fed up, but if she only had that job, she would have stayed there till she found something else. I noticed in Portland, people will sometimes put themselves in a worse situation for the positivity of their mental health, and I don't know which way is better per se, but I always feel like when I can't pay my bills, that I get more depressed that way.
Yeah, for me, that's more detrimental.
For me, it does.
To my mental health.
And I know that's a capitalistic society, but it's at the same time, it hits my mental health in a bad way. When
I think you for sure need to have safeguards in place. For me also, like, I am immunocompromised. And so for me, it was a big question of my own health and safety being in that facility, you know, and granted I am boosted, but these new variants are getting through boosters. So
yeah, it seems like every time I blink, one of my friends has COVID, and I think most of my friends are boosted, and they all keep getting it, and it's scary. It's scary, especially if you're immunocompromised.
Well, and especially in an environment like that where you can't even be safe at work.
Yeah.
Somewhere that you should be able to trust that they would take care of you enough to just make sure that you're healthy so you can continue working, first of all.
Yeah.
That you would think that would be something that they would worry about selfishly. Like, I need my employees to be healthy so they can keep coming to work so we can keep being productive.
Yeah.
So that speaks a lot on
it does.
them not caring about anything.
That is, gosh, I'm sorry. That's terrible.
Garbage.
Had a lot of death
Garbage.
talk this episode.
It's been, we have. Things have been incredibly heavy because of that. But I found, you know, like, I was seeing how awful, like, my mental health was suffering. And I would feel guilty for calling out, even though I wasn't, you know, like, feeling good. And this new facility was, like, quite literally making me sick. I found out I had cysts in my sinuses after I started working there.
Oh,
I had to get, like, a whole MRI done, and I was feeling, like, my symptoms of, you know, being someone who's chronically ill. I was just, like, feeling awful. So, another safeguard.
Right. You thought you had after effects from when you had COVID. Actually.
Yeah, and I think I still kind of did. I mean, with my condition right now, I already experience fatigue. So, like, after effects from COVID, along with the fatigue that I already experienced, like, it was extremely heavy, and it was just hard to even get up in the mornings.
Yeah.
So another thing too that I kind of, like, had in the back of my mind is, like, if all else fails, I can just get unemployment, because this was due to my health that I had to leave this position. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gosh, that well, I hope that your interviews go well. Hopefully
I do
next
too.
time we record next time that you're like, oh yeah, I got a couple of offers in, and I know that you're still trying to go to school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I put a pause definitely on the on the
new thing?
on the UX design course. Yeah, just because it's too much right now.
Well,
And you told me that, but
I did, and she was adamantly not listening to me.
I
And
was
I
like, yeah, I'm still going to do it because it'll give me a career in 6 months. No, like, I need to put a pause on it because I'm in school, plus now looking for a new job. But I'm happy with the part-time job that I still have had since I got that job when I first moved here. So.
Right. And so and the newness is still, like, being in the honeymoon phase of a relationship.
Yeah.
And so, and I actually have to admit that, like, that's why in July I've been thinking about it all day today about taking a drag break in July, because I know I'm going to be dead by the time June is over, and I'm so excited and happy about my June schedule. But I also got sick the last time I tried to do drag at this level, because I'm not as young as I used to be. And I do have a full-time job that is now more mentally and physically demanding than any other job I've ever had.
Yeah.
And so doing all of that, I'm just interested to see how and who I am going to be at the end of it. It's going to be a true testament to who I want to be. And also, like, I think it's time to get it out of my system now, because I do want to start looking at children, you know, in some capacity. I don't, like, know what that means, but, like, and that's probably not for this episode, but I have 35 gigs in June and a full-time job, and, like,
you have more gigs than there are days in the month.
yes.
That's insane.
I know.
That is freaking insane. How many are in the same day?
Many, because I have Monday and Tuesday off every week.
Oh my god.
So, on June 1st alone, that Wednesday, there's 4 gigs on that day.
Oh my god.
Yeah. 4 gigs on that day.
Oh my gosh. I'm stressing out about the 2 gigs I have currently.
Yeah, I actually have, like, my Amazon inbox is full right now with gigs and for things that I need for all these gigs, and I also just want to have a happy Pride. I like being involved. I like being busy during Pride. I like to be out there, and, you know, and, like, the money is right this year, and the money is right for my career, and I literally have people in my inbox in a way that I've always wanted to. It's like a dream come true almost.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been this excited about something drag related since the cruise, honestly. Like, I think it's so cool about some of these, like these, I'm in 3 different Pride celebrations. Like 4 if you count, like the Katya gigs with
Nice.
Willow Pill coming out.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool. And,
That is really cool.
and getting to be a part of that just is really exciting to me.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the end of our episode, listeners, and I do want to go something really negative and then something really positive. Is we did check during our break, and with the Texas shooting, the death toll actually, because we said 14, it's actually at 21 currently, and which is just as heartbreaking. The majority being children, which Donna found out.
Mm-hmm.
And seriously, just since it seems like these things are happening, we actually did. There was a statistic that was pulled that there has been more mass shootings than there are days in the year, or something. So it's more than there are days in this current year.
Yeah, there's been more shootings this year than there have been days.
Yeah.
Wow.
More shootings than there has been days. And so be safe out there. But what I mean by be safe too is just make sure that when you're in that argument, or you snap, or you are unkind, or you say something you don't mean, maybe before the person leaves the room, you mend that.
Yeah.
I have Donna knows this, I have a huge case of feeling like the good things are going to be taken away from me in a heartbeat. And so one thing that I consistently try to do is that if I have negative moments, I try to remedy them as quickly as possible, because I don't want my last moments with someone to ever be the fact that we were in a small tiff over something that would never matter more than their life.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree too. I saw this clip on TikTok today of this guy who had gotten hit by a woman who was driving a car, and he was on a motorcycle, and he like walked up to her and he's like, "It's okay. This happens to everyone," and was like just trying to calm her down because she was freaking out so bad about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if we could have more situations like that where people aren't like jumping down other people's throat, then we could really like make things better for people just in little ways. Even today, like I ordered groceries and my groceries showed up an hour later than the time frame that I had asked for them. And I was like on the chat with the customer service person, and it's like, you know what, I could lay into them and be like, I feel like I'm owed something from this, but instead I was like, it's okay, it wasn't time sensitive, it was groceries, they can wait. So like just having a little bit of mindfulness to like think about those things and not like lead with your ego is, I think, a really good way to react to things during these times.
Yeah, and then also being honest. At the end of work today, because remember, I'm a new manager at this job, and I had somebody write me after 5 being like, hey, like, you still haven't gotten back to this thing that I needed, and I said, I'm just going to be honest. And they said the last manager's name, and they said, he would have done this for me by now, like, he would have just fixed it. And he even said, maybe I'm spoiled, and the fact that he would fix this in a heartbeat. And I literally just said, I'm sorry, like, I'm new, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
The thing that you're asking, I was like, even though, I was like, I will learn it, I'll figure it out, and it'll come in time, but this is like my 3rd week on the job.
Give me some grace.
Like
just a little bit, you know?
Yeah, and I was honest, I was like, I don't know everything. I was like, I'm happy and I'm proud of this job that I have. I worked really hard in my life, in my boy life, to get here, and so I just wanted grace.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of grace. And to finish out Garrett's story, how have you been keeping your head up for the kids? Let's end it with that.
Surrounding myself with people that love me. Like you guys. Like being able to be in environments and around groups of people that genuinely just care for me. They don't expect things from me. They don't, there's no reservations. Like, I get to be me as much as I want to be and be happy. So choosing the right people to be around and the right places to be has done wonders for me recently.
That's amazing.
I have you guys to thank for that. For sure, for being so willing to bring in my wayward ass right now.
The house of wayward gays.
We're all a little wayward,
We're
you
all
know.
a little wayward.
we're all going through something, and I'm happy that you're here and we can be here to like help and support you during everything.
Yeah, in some capacity.
Yeah.
Y'all are incredible.
Thanks, friend.
So are you.
You are too.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of our episode, listeners. Remember, on June 2nd, we are going to have our Gem of a Secret podcast live, where you get to meet me and Donna. And, of course, flawless.shade on Instagram.
Yeah.
At the Queen's Head.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be fantastic. And it was so cool last month. We're so excited to meet each
We had
and
a
every
really
single
good
one of you.
time.
And remember, it is a sober event beforehand and through the filming of the podcast. So for all of our sober friends who want to be out in a queer space in the nighttime, like, come out to that and, like, you know, hang out with us and drink some ginger ale.
Yeah.
And get some delicious food at the Queen's Head.
Exactly.
Starts at 6:00 p.m.
Do it.
Do it. And then also, watch me and Donna on the Milwaukee main Pride stage doing the things that we do.
Yeah. I get to perform again. I love performing. It's fun. And I'm like falling in love with it now as like a new sober person.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it, everybody.
Yeah.
We love you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Say bye, Garrett.
Bye.
This has been another episode of a Gem of a Secret podcast. The hosts of a Gem of a Secret podcast are Donna and Coco Gem Holiday. You can follow Donna at Donatella_MySecrets on Instagram.
You may follow Coco Gem Holiday at Coco Gem Holiday on Instagram. Original music by Touche Douche and Party Favors. You can follow them respectively at Touche Likes Beef and Party Favors Music on Instagram. For more content, follow them online at www.agemofasecretpodcast.com. That is www.ajemofasecretpodcast.com.